You've probably seen those movies about medieval times. Dirty peasants, sure, but the sun still shines. Crops still grow. People still manage. Here's what they don't show you. What if the sun just stopped? Not completely, but what if one morning you woke up and the sun was blue? What if it barely cast enough light to see your hand in front of your face? What if this lasted not for a day or a week, but for 18 months? Most people think living in medieval times was hard. They have no idea. In the year 536 CE, something happened that was so catastrophic, so beyond comprehension that historians now call it the worst year to be alive in human history. A mysterious fog rolled across Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia, blocking the sun for a year and a half. Not a cloud, not a storm, a fog that never lifted, turning day into a permanent, eerie twilight. And the worst part, nobody knew why. Nobody knew when it would end, and absolutely nobody was prepared for what came next. So yeah, if these stories help you sleep, like or subscribe would be cool. Also, drop where you're listening from and the time. I checked the comments, and it's crazy seeing people from like Australia and Norway on the same video. Alright, tonight it's the year 536 CE, but before we go anywhere, get cozy, like actually cozy. Pillows good, blanket situation handled, perfect. Trust me on this one. So, congratulations. You just woke up in Byzantine Empire, March of the year 536. You're lying on a straw mattress, not like your memory foam back home. This thing is basically a sack, stuffed with whatever plants your family could gather last autumn. It crinkles when you move, pokes you in weird places, and it's definitely home to a few insects that you've learned to ignore. You can already tell something's wrong. Usually dawn brings a warm glow through the wooden shutters of your one-room house, but today it's different. The rooster crowed, but the light hasn't followed. Maybe it's just cloudy. You've seen storms before. Your father is already by the door, peering outside with a confused look on his face. Your mother is stoking the small fire in the center of the room, the smoke escaping through a hole in the thatched roof. What is it? Your mother asks, noticing your father's expression. He shakes his head. Come look. You follow them outside, and that's when you see it. The sky is wrong, it's morning, but it looks like late dusk, and the sun, what you can see of it through the haze is blue. Not yellow, not orange, blue and dim like a full moon, rebirth in the sun. Is it an eclipse? You ask. Your father shakes his head again. Eclipses don't last this long, and the sun wouldn't be blue. Your family isn't only one outside now. The whole village is emerging from their homes. Faces turned upward, expressions mixed at between awe and terror. Nobody has seen anything like this before. Old Alina, the oldest woman in the village, hobbles forward with her walking stick. She's at least 60, ancient by the standards of your time. She survived famines, wars, and 3 husbands. It's the end times, she announces dramatically. Just like the prophets foretold darkness upon the land. Oh, shut up, Alina, your father says, which is pretty bold considering how every owner respects her wisdom. You said the same thing when that Calf was born 5 years ago. And have things gotten better since Hithan? She shoots back. Emperor, raising taxes. Goths and Vandals causing trouble, everywhere, and now this. She gestures toward the dim blue sun. Mark my words. You know your father is worried though, despite his brave face. Your family, like most others in this time, are farmers. You grow barley, some vegetables, keep chickens, and a goat. You're utterly dependent on the weather and the sun. As a child of about 10, your job is to help with the animals and collect eggs. You've already noticed the chickens are confused. They went back into their coop after coming out briefly. Animals can sense when things are end, right? What does it mean? You ask your father, tugging at his rough, homespun tunic. I don't know. He admits, which scares you more than anything else. Your father always knows what to do, but we should get to work anyway. The fields won't plow themselves. But even as he says it, you can feel how cold it is. Not winter cold, but certainly not the spring warmth you'd expect in March. Your breath forms small clouds in the air. It's freezing, your mother says, wrapping her shawl tighter. How can it be this cold? Yesterday was warm. Your family goes about the morning chores, but everything feels off. The goat is agitated. The chickens won't leave their coop, and there's an eerie quiet over the village. No bird singing. Even the insects seem silent. By midday, or what should be midday, the light hasn't improved. If anything, it's dimmer. The blue sun hangs in the sky like a ghost, providing barely enough light to see clearly. And here's the strangest part. You notice you're not casting a shadow. Neither is anyone else. Look, you say, pointing to the ground. No, shadows. Your father stops his work and stares at the ground. It's true. The sun is so weak that it casts no shadows at all. In your entire life, you've never seen such a thing. Word comes from a traveler passing through that it's the same in Constantinople, the great city about 2 days' journey from your village. The Emperor Justinian himself ordered lanterns lit throughout the palace, even during the day. Some say it's a punishment from God for the emperor's wars. Others whisper, it's the work of Persian mages casting spells against the Byzantine Empire. That night, your family gathers close around the fire. It's colder than it should be, and you pile on eggs. Your mother has been quieter than usual all day, and now she speaks what's on everyone's mind. What if the sun doesn't come back? What happens to the crops? Your father doesn't answer right away. Finally, he says, the sun will come back. It has, too. But you can hear the doubt in his voice. 3 days later, nothing has changed. The blue sun, Thetum light, the unseasonable cold, it's all the same. People in the village are starting to panic a little. Some are talking about omens and signs. 2 families loaded up their carts and left, heading south, where they heard the darkness isn't as bad. Your father meets with other village men near the well. You sneak close enough to listen. My wheat hasn't grown at all, says Nikolaus, who has the largest farm in the village. Not a finger's width in 3 days. It's like it's frozen in time. Same with my barley, another farm. Rats. And have you noticed? No insects on the plants either. We should send Simone to the city, your father suggests. Find out what the officials know. They won't tell us peasants anything, Nikolaus scoffs. Besides, Stephanos passed through yesterday coming from there. Says it's the same in Constantinople. People lighting lamps, at midday. Priests leading prayers in the streets. I heard a merchant talking about other places. A quiet voice adds, it's Emmaus, who rarely speaks at these gatherings, said it's like this everywhere, all the way to Persia. The men fall silent, digesting this information. If it's everywhere, there's nowhere to flee to, nowhere to escape whatever. This is. Later that night, you hear your parents talking in hushed voices after they think you're asleep. We should count what food we have stored. Your mother says, if the crops don't grow, they'll grow. Your father insists, the sun will come back. But what if it doesn't? Not in time. The grain from last harvest won't last past summer, even if we're careful. Then we'll find other food. Fish from Thurver, game in the forest. Everyone will be hunting and fishing. There won't be enough. You pull your blanket tight around you, trying not to listen, but unable to stop. You've never heard your parents sound so worried before. A week passes, and the unnatural twilight a consciousness. You've gotten somewhat used to the dim blue light, but the cold is getting worse. Frost appears on the ground each morning now in March, when it's hold be warming up. The crops in the field show no signs of growth. Some plants are starting to wither. Your father has begun setting traps in the forest, something he usually only does in winter when food is scarce. Your mother is stretching the grain stores, mixing grounded corns into the bread to make it last longer. It tastes bitter, but no one complains. In the village, the mood has darkened along with the sky. Arguments break out over small things. 2 men came to blows over whose turn it was at the grinding stone. The headman had to step in. 10 days after darkness began, a group of soldiers passes through the village. They're Byzantine troops, servants of Emperor Justinian, heading west. Their armor gleams dully in the strange light, and their faces look grim. Your father and some other men approach them cautiously. Relations between peasants and soldiers are always tense. They're known to take taxes in the form of food and supplies. What news from the capital? Your father asks the leader, a gruff man with a scar running down his cheek. Same as here, the soldier replies, glancing up at the dim blue sun. Emperors, got the scholar string to figure it out. Some say it's ash from a great fire mountain in the north. Others say it's the breath of a dragon. He shrugs. All I know is, we're still expected to fight the Goths, ini tali, darkness or no, and the crops, someone asks. In Constantinople, nothing's growing, the soldier says bluntly. Food prices are already 10 times normal. Emperors ordered grain ships from Egypt, but he doesn't finish thought. Everyone knows what happens in cities when food runs out. After the soldiers leave, taking some of the village's precious food with them as imperial tax, the headman calls everyone together. We need to be smart, he tells the gathered villagers. If the crops didn't grow, we'll need to rely on what we have stored. From now on, we ration everything, and we send parties to the forest daily for anything edible. Mushrooms, berries, game, anything. What about the city? Someone calls out. Should we go there? The headman shakes his head. Cities will be the first to starve. Better to be here, where we at least have land and forest. As people, you notice how they're careful not to make eye contact with neighbors. Everyone is already thinking about their own family's supplies, mentally calculating how long they can last. That night, you awaken to the sound of a commotion. Outside, your father grabs his pitchfork and goes to the door. Your mother holds you back. Through the crack in the door, you see flickering torchlight and hear angry voices. Someone has broken into the village storehouse, where seed grain is kept. The headman and several others have caught the thief. It's Dmitri, whose family arrived in the village only last year. My children are hungry, he's shouting as they hold him. What was I supposed to do? We're all going to be hungry, the headman says grimly, but if we eat the seed grain now, we'll have nothing toplant when the sun returns. If it returns, Dmitri spits. My family can't wait, for if the punishment for stealing seed grain is severe. In normal times, Dmitri might be banished, or worse. But these aren't normal times. 3 days in Thestox, the headman pronounces, and your family's rations cut for a week. It seems both harsh and lenient at the same time. Harsh because in this cold, 3 days outside could mean death. Lenient because in normal times, the punishment would be much worse. As the days turn into weeks, the strange twilight becomes the new normal. Your eyes have adapted to seeing in the dim blue light, but the cold, that's getting worse. It's now April, when flowers should be blooming, and the air should be warm, but instead, there's frost every morning. The crops in the fields are stunted or dying. Your family's food stores are running low, and you've all lost weight. Your mother has been skipping meals, claiming she's not hungry, but you know she's giving your share to you. The forest has provided some food, mushrooms, early berries, a few rabbits from your father's traps, but not enough. News trickles in from travelers. It's theism everywhere. From Hispania to Persia, the sun is dimmed. Crops the Byzantine Empire, already stretched thin by Emperor Justinian's wars to reconquer the western territories, is struggling to feed its people. One morning, about a month after the darkness began, You wake to find your father already gone. Your mother says he's joined a group of men from the village on a hunting expedition deeper into the forest than they usually go. They'll be gone for several days. While he's away, you take on more responsibilities. You check the small vegetable garden daily, willing the plants to grow in the cold twilight. You collect the few eggs the confused chickens still lay. You help your mother search the forest edge for anything. On the third day, after your father left, you're collecting firewood near the edge of the forest when you hear a sound. Looking up, you see a deer, a young doe, watching you cautiously from between the trees. In normal times, this would be extraordinary luck. Deer usually stay deep in the forest away from humans, but these aren't normal times. The deer looks thin, its ribs visible even from where you stand. The cold and lack of plant growth is affecting all creatures. You freeze, barely daring to breathe. You have no weapon, nothing to capture this potential feast. The deer stares at you for a long moment, then silently turns and disappears into the forest. When you tell your mother later, she sighs. The animals are struggling. Everything is that night. Lying on your straw mattress, you stare up at the roof of your home and wonder what will happen next. Will the sun ever turn to normal? Will the crops grow again? Or is this the new world? Cold, dim, and hungry. Your father returns the next day with the hunting party. They look exhausted and disheartened. Between 5 of them, they've managed to catch only 1 boar and a few squirrels. Hardly worth the 4 days they spent hunting. The forest is empty. Your father tells your mother when they think you can't hear. The animals are either hiding or dead. And we weren't the only ones hunting. We saw people from other villages, even some who looked like they'd come from the city. What are we going to do? Your mother asks, fear evident in her voice. Your father is silent for a long moment. We might have Eto go to Constantinople, he finally says. At least the emperor will have food. He won't let the capital starve, even if the rest of the empire does. The idea of leaving your home is terrifying. You've never been further than the nearby market town. Constantinople is a day's journey away, a place you've only heard about in stories. A great city with walls higher than the tallest trees, with the magnificent Hagia Sophia Church, with more people than you can imagine. But the prospect of food, real food, not just thin soup and bitter acorn bread, is tempting. The next day, the headman calls another village meeting. The news isn't good. The imperial tax collectors are expected soon, and they'll demand their usual share of the village's production, darkness or no. We barely have enough for ourselves, someone protests. How can we give anything to the emperor? We have no choice. The headman says surely, if we refuse, they'll take it by force and punish us besides. Then what do we do? Your father asks. Wait here to starve? The headman has known where no one does. 2 days later, as the unnatural twilight continues, into its 6th week, your family makes a decision. Like many others in the village, you'll go to Constantinople. The city will be dangerous, especially now. But staying means certain starvation when winter comes. You pack what little you can carry. Some clothing, your mother's prized bronze cooking pot, a small sack of precious grain, a knife. Your father trades your goat to Nicolaus for a small cart. That too, pull yourselves, since you have no horse or rocks. The morning of your departure, you take a last look at the home you've known all your life. The dimness hasn't improved. If anything, the haze seems thicker, the blue sun fainter. The fields that should be green with growing crops are brown and withered. As your family sets off down the road toward Constantinople, joining a stream of other desperate people, all heading for the city, you wonder what will happen next in this darkened world. You've never known real hunger before, or real fear, but looking at the faces around you, gaunt, determined, frightened, you realize this is just the beginning. The darkness that fell in March of 536 CE would last for 18 months. And what came after would be even worse. The road to Constantinopolis, packed with people, not just from your village, but from every farm and settlement for miles around. Every Onahas the same hollow-cheeked look, the same desperate hope that the great city might offer salvation from the endless twilight that swallowed the world. Your family's small cart kicks as you help your father pull it over the rooted road. Inside are your few possessions and your mother, who twisted her ankle on the first day of travel. The going is slow. Look at them all, your father mutters, nodding. Toward the stream of humanity, trudging toward the city. The emperor's going to have his hands full, if he even lets us in, says a man walking nearby, overhearing. I heard they're turning people away at the gates. Your father frowns. They can't turn everyone away. The man just shrugs. City's got to feed who it's got already. The thought sends a chill through you. That has nothing to do with the unseasonable cold. What if you make this journey only to be turned away? As night falls, though it's hard to tell the difference between day and night, Timur, your family joins others, making camp by the roadside. Small fires flicker in the gloom, casting more light than the hidden sun did all day. The mood is subdued. No one has much food to share, and those who do guard it jealously. Your mother winces as she examines her swollen ankle by firelight. It's not getting better, your father says quietly. I can walk tomorrow, she insists, though you can see the pain in her eyes. An old woman from another village hobbles over to your fire. Go to yourself a bad twist there, she says, gesturing to your mother's ankle. Without waiting for an invitation, she sits down next to her. I'm fine, your mother says stiffly. Of course you were, the old woman says with a snort. And I'm the Empress Theodora. Shia reaches into a pouch at her waist and pulls out some leaves. Willow bark. Chew it. Tastes like horse piss. Beauty'll help with the pain. Your mother hesitates, then takes the offering with a nod of thanks. Been on the road 3 days, the old woman continues, settling herself more comfortably. Left when Myson's family did. They've gone on ahead. Younger legs move faster. She looks around at the makeshift camp, the dozen small fires dotting the darkness. Never seen anything like this. Not in 70 years of living. The darkness, you mean? Your father asks. All of it. The cold, the dying crops. She shakes her head. Lived through 2 famines in my time. This feels worse. At least then we knew what was happening. This, she gestures toward the dim sky. This ain't natural. In the morning, if you can call it morning when the sky merrily shifts from black to a deep blue twilight, your family continues toward Constantinople. Your mother insists on walking despite her ankle, though she leans heavily on a stick. The old woman from last night who introduced herself as Agatha joins your small group. Safety in numbers, she says, though you suspect she's just lonely. By midday, the great walls of Constantinople come into view. Even in the dim light, they're Anisom sight. Massive stone barriers stretching across the horizon, tallathon, anything you've ever seen. Above them rise domes and spires, the tops ophalaces and churches. But something's wrong. The road leading to the main gate is completely jammed with people. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. And the gate itself is closed with armored soldiers standing guard before it. That doesn't look good, your father says, stating the obvious. As you get closer, you can hear shouting. The crowd is angry, demanding to be let in. The soldiers keep them back with spears and shields. Citizens of the empire only. One soldier bellows through a metal helmet, by order of Emperor Justinian. Show proof you're registered for the Annona, or turn back. The Annona is the system of grain distribution for citizens of the capital. Your family as rural farmers has no such registration. What do we do now? Your mother asks, her face pale with pain and fear. Your father surveys the scene, thinking we need another way in, he says finally. A smaller gate maybe, or someone who can vouch for us. The harbor of Theodosius, Agatha pipes up. Everyone turns to look at her. My son works the docks there. If you can find him, he might help. It's a slim chance, but better than nothing. Your father nods and your small group breaks away from the main road, circling west around the city walls, toward the harbor. The detour adds hours to your journey. By the time you reach the harbor, the dim daylight is fading toward true night. The harbor is busy despite the late hour, with ships being frantically unloaded. Even in the gloom, you can see their grain ships, their cargo precious beyond measure in these dark times. Workers swarm over the vessels while soldiers oversee the operation. Mackings or none of the grain disappears. The dockside is chaotic, with people shouting, animals braying, and the creak of ropes and wood. How will we find your son in this? Your father asks Agatha. He's a foreman name of Demetrios, she replies. Everyone knows him. Your father asks a few dock workers about Demetrios. Most ignore him or shake their heads, too busy to help. But finally, one points toward a large warehouse might be in there tallying the new shipment. Your father thanks him with a small piece of bread, a valuable gift now, and your group heads toward the warehouse. Inside, it's surprisingly warm from the bodies of dozens of workers, hauling sacks of grain. Oil lamps hang from posts, creating pools of yellow light in the gloom. Demetrios, your father calls. We're looking for Demetrios. A burly man with a short beard looks up from a table where he's making marks on a wax tablet. Who's asking? We brought your mother, your father says, gesturing to Agatha. The man's face changes instantly. Mother. He hurries over, embracing the old woman. What are you doing here? He told you to stay in the village. Village is dying, Agatha says simply. Everyone's leaving. Demetrius looks past her at your family, his expression weary. And these people helped me, on the road. Good folks, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. Mother, the city's overflowing already. There's barely enough food, even with the Emperor's Egyptian shipments. They've closed the gates to anyone without citizen rights. Please, your mother says, stepping forward. We have nowhere else to go. Our crops have failed. Everything's dying in this darkness. Demetrios looks at her, then at you, a child with hungry eyes, and his resolve visibly weakens. I can get you inside the walls, he says finally. Finding you a place to stay and food to eat, that'll be harder. We'll work, your father says quickly. Whatever jobs need doing, I'm strong, and I know farming. Demetrius laws, but there's no humor in it. Farming in the city with the sun gone. He shakes his head, but there's always work on the docks. Hard work, mind you, for little pay. Anything, your father says. We just need a chance. That night, your family sleeps in a corner of the on sacks of grain. The most comfortable bed you've had in weeks, despite the hard lumps. Demetrios brings you a small portion of fish stew, more flavor than you've tasted since the darkness began. Don't tell anyone I gave Ao this, he warns. Food riots started last week. People are desperate. In the morning, Demetrios leads your family through a small service gate in the walls. He's vouched for you as workers for the harbor, which gets you past the guards, though they look at you suspiciously, and then you're inside Constantinople, the greatest city in the world. Even cloaked in twilight, it takes your breath away. Buildings taller than trees, line streets paved with actual stone. People of every description hurry past. Not just farmers and laborers like in your village, but men in rich robes, women with painted faces, soldiers in gleaming armor, priests in flowing garments, and the noise after the quiet of your village, the constant din of voices, animals, and commerce, is overwhelming. But beneath the spectacle, you can see signs of the same fear that drove your family here. The faces of the city dwellers are drawn with hunger. Markets that should be bustling have half-empty stalls. Soldiers patrol everywhere, hands on their weapons. Outside a large building, hundreds of people line up for what you guess is a distribution of food. The emperor ordered the city granaries opened, Demetrios explains, following your gaze. Each citizen gets a ration, not enough, but something. You're not citizens, so he leaves the implication hanging. We'll find a way, your father says, with more confidence than he probably feels. Demetrius leads you to the harbor district, a maze off narrow streets and crowded tenements near the water. The smell of fish and salt hangs in the air, mingling with less pleasant odor. He stops at a dilapidated building wedged between tour houses. My friend Sophia runs this boarding house, he says. She might have space in the cellar. It's not much, but it's shelter. The cellar turns out to be little more than a stone room, with a dirt floor already occupied by 2 other families, but it's dry and safer than the roads outside the city. Your mother nearly weeps with relief when she can finally rest her injured ankle. How much? Your father asks, already reaching for the small pouch where he keeps your family's few coins. First week is covered, Demetrius says, as a favor to my mother. After that, we'll see if I can find you work. Over the next few days, you settle into a new routine. Your father works on the docks from dawn until dusk, loading and unloading ships for a few copper coins, and sometimes a portion of fish or damaged grain that would otherwise be thrown away. Your mother, once her ankle heals enough to walk, finds work washing clothes for a wealthy family near the Forum of Constantine. You're left to your own devices, much of the time, a freedom both exciting and terrifying. The city is a dangerous place, for a child alone, but also full of wonders. You quickly learn which market stalls might give a hungry child a crust of bread out of pity, which streets to avoid because of gangs, and how to make yourself useful enough that adults won't chase you away. One day, about 2 weeks after arriving in Thessaly, you're helping an old baker stack his empty baskets when you notice a commotion near the forum. A crowd has gathered listening to a man in elaborate robes speaking from the steps of a building. Curious, you edge closer. Aidest from God, the man is saying, his voice carrying over the crowd. That darkness has come because we have strayed from the true path. Emperor Justinian builds his grand churches while allowing heresy to flourish. Some in the crowd murmur agreement. Others look uncomfortable. The sun hides its face because of our sins, the man continues. Repent. Give what you have to the church and pray for salvation before it's too late. That's Cosmos, says a voice beside you. You turn to see a boy about your age, skinny with dirt, smudged cheeks. He's been preaching doom since the darkness started. Is he right? You ask. Is it because of sins? The boy shrugs. My dad says it's because of a fire mountain far away. He was a sailor before the ship stopped coming. Says he saw one once, spitting fire and smoke into the sky. A fire mountain sounds just as implausible as divine punishment, but you don't say so. I'm Theo, the boy offers. I'm from the country, you reply. Just got here. Theo nods like this, explains everything. Lots of country people coming in. City folks don't like it. Say there's not enough food already. As if to emphasize his point, a disturbance breaks out at the edge of the crowd. People are shouting, pushing. You stand on tiptoe to see what's happening. A cart has arrived carrying loaves of bread, likely headed for one of the city's food distribution centers. But people are swarming it, grabbing at the precious food. The driver cracks his whip, trying to keep them back. Soldiers are running toward the scene. Come on, Theo says, tugging at your sleeve. When there's trouble with food, you don't want to be nearby. Soldiers don't care who they hit. You'll follow him down a narrow side street, away from the commotion. Behind you, you can hear shouting and the sounds of fighting. Happens all the time now. Theo says matter of fact lie. My mom says if the darkness doesn't lift soon, the whole city will tear itself apart. As the weeks pass, summer arrives, though you'd never know it from the temperature. It remains unseasonal, with frost appearing some mornings, even in June. The blue sun continues to shed its weak light through the haze. If anything, the dimness seems to be getting worse. News from outside. The city is grim. Crops are failing across the empire. Food grows more expensive by the day. Emperor Justinian has ordered more grain ships from Egypt and North Africa, but they can't feed everyone. The poor suffer first as always. Your family's situation is precarious. The work on the docks is sporadic. Some days your father comes home with pay. Other days there are no ships to unload. Your mother's employers cut her wages, claiming financial hardship. The small room you share with two other families feels smaller as tensions rise. One evening, your father returns from the docks with a small package wrapped in cloth. His face is tense, but excited, as he gathers your family in a corner of the cellar, away from the others. Look, he whispers, unwrapping the bundle, to reveal a handful of beans, some withered vegetables, and a small piece of salted fish. From a ship that came in today, from the south. The captain said the darkness isn't as bad there. We should go south. Then, your mother says immediately. Your father shakes his head. No ships taking passengers on the roads. He doesn't need to finish. You've all heard the rumors about the roads, bandits, desperate people, entire villages stripped bare by hungry travelers. Weplant these, he says instead, pointing to the beans. I found a spot near Thessaly Wall, a little garden patch someone abandoned. Plant. Your mother looks skeptical. In this darkness, in this cold, we have to try, your Terrence insists. We can't depend on dock work forever. The next day, you help your father in his secret garden, a small plot of earth in the shadow of the massive city walls. The ground is hard, resistant to the crude tools you fashioned from scrap wood. But your father works with determination, turning the soil, creating neat rows. Just like home, he says, trying to sound cheerful, except for the giant wall, blocking what little sun there is. Will they really grow? You ask, looking doubtfully at Thebians he's carefully placing in the earth. They might, he says, if the darkness lifts soon. If not, he doesn't finish the thought. As you're covering the last of the seeds, a shadow falls over you. Looking up, you see two city guards watching your work with interest. What's this then? One asks, his hand resting casually on his sword hilt, digging by the city walls. Your father stands, slowly wiping dirt from his hands. Just a small garden, sir, trying to grow a few vegetables. The guards exchange looks. Emperor sticklered all food production under imperial control. The second guard says private gardens aren't permitted during the emergency. We're just trying to feed ourselves, your father protests. We won't take from anyone else. Rules are rules, the first guard says. Then he lowers his voice. Look, I don't like it either, but people are watching. If we let you garden here, everyone will want their own plot. And then what? Fighting over every scrap of dirt in the city. Please, your father says my family is hungry. The guards look uncomfortable. Finally, the second one sighs. We didn't see anything today, but don't come back here. Find somewhere less obvious. Inside the buildings, maybe. Some folks are growing things on rooftops. Your father nods gratefully, and you quickly gather your makeshift tools. As you walk back toward your cellar home, your father is quiet, thinking. We'll find another spot, he eventually says. Somewhere hidden, you two both know the truth. There are few secrets in a crowded city full of hungry people. And as the unnatural winter stretches into what should be summer, with no sign of the sun returning, the chances of growing anything at all seem slimmer by the day. That night, as your family huddles together for warmth in the cellar, you hear people in the street outside shouting about a new proclamation from the emperor. The darkness the imperial heralds announce is caused by a great ash cloud from a volcano in the distant north. The scholars predict it will lift eventually, though none can say when. At least we know what it is now, your mother whispers in the darkness. Knowing doesn't fill our bellies, your father replies. In the morning, you wake to find a dusting of ash on the ground outside, gray flakes drifting down from the murky sky. People walk with cloths over their mouths, eyes squinting against the irritation. The air tastes bitter. See, the Emperor was right, Theo says when you meet him later. He's become your friend and guide to city life. Fire Mountain, just like my dad said. When will it end? You ask. Theo shrugs. When the mountain stops spitting fire, I guess, or when the wind changes. Neither seems likely to happen soon. As June turns to July, with no improvement in the darkness, the situation in Constantinople grows more desperate. Food riots become common. The Emperor increases the soldiers patrolling the streets, but even they look hungry and on edge. Your father has found work helping to build new granaries. The Emperor is preparing for a long crisis. The pay is better than the docks, but work is harder. He comes home each night exhausted. His hands roar. Your mother has taken to standing in the citizens' food line despite not having the proper tokens, hoping the distributors will take pity or be too busy to check. Sometimes it works, often it doesn't. In your cellar home, one of the other families has left, or perhaps died. No one seems to know for sure. Their space is quickly taken by newcomers. A young couple with a baby that cries constantly from hunger. We need to try growing food again, your father says one night, his voice low. Not outside this time. Theo told me about people growing mushrooms in cellars like this. They don't need sunlight. Mushrooms. Your mother sounds skeptical. Can we eat those? If they're the right kind, better than starving. The next day, your father trades his good knife, one of the last valuable things you own, for a sack of mushroom spores and instructions on how to grow them. He sets up a small bed of damp straw in the darkest corner of the cellar, carefully mixing in the spores. Now we wait. He says if we're lucky, we'll have food in a few weeks. If you can survive that long, you think but don't say. The mushroom experiment gives your family something to hope for, a project to focus on beyond the daily struggle for food. Each day, your father carefully tends the growing medium, keeping it moist, but not too wet. Meanwhile, the unnatural winter, the brief summer that Constantinople should be enjoying, never arrives. The blue sun hangs in the sky like a dim sickly eye, providing barely enough light to see by. Frost appears on the ground, even in July, killing any plants hardy enough to have survived this long. One morning, about a week after starting the mushroom bed, you wake to find your mother shaking with fever. Her skin burns to the touch. Her eyes are glassy and unfocused. Get water, your father tells you, his foes tight with fear, and find Agatha. She knows about herbs. You run through streets, searching for the old woman who traveled with you to the city. You finally find her in a small courtyard near the docks, sorting through piles of dried plants, with several other old women. My mother's sick, you gasp. Fever, please help. Agatha's roomy eyes harpen with concern. Take me to her. When you return to the cellar, your father is cradling your mother's head, trying to get her to drink water. She seems worse than when you left, her breathing shallow and rapid. Agatha kneels beside her, feeling her forehead, checking her pulse, looking into her eyes. How long has she been like this? Shisks. She was tired last night. Your father says. This morning the fever came in. Suddenly, Agatha's face is grim. There's sickness spreading in the city. The darkness, the cold, the hunger. People's bodies can't fight off disease. Can you help her? Your father asks, his voice breaking. I'll try, Agatha says. She opens her pouch of herbs, selecting several varieties. Boil water if you can. We'll make a tea. For the next few days, your mother hovers between life and death. The fever rages, then breaks, then returns. Agatha's herbal remedies seem to help a little, but without proper food and warmth, recovery is difficult. Your father stops going to work, staying by your mother's side. The loss of income means even less food, but there's no. You take over the job of finding sustenance, joining the crowds of children who scavenged the city for anything edible, dropped grain, discarded fish heads, even rats, if you can catch them. On the 5th day of your mother's illness, you return to Thessaler to find your father smiling for the first time in weeks. The fever's broken, he says. And look, he points to the mushroom bed in the corner. Tiny white growths are pushing up through the straw. Life finds a way, Agatha says, nodding approvingly. Even in darkness, it feels like the first good omen. Your mother's fever is gone, though she remains weak. The mushrooms are growing, promising food in the near future. Perhaps things are finally turning around. But that night, as your family sleeps, shouts and screams erupt in the street outside. Your father jerks awake, motioning for you to stay put as he creeps to the cellar door. What is it? Your mother whispers, her voice frail. Before he can answer, the door bursts open. Demetrios stands there, his face streaked with soot, a sword in his hand. Get up, he says urgently. All of you, the city is burning. The world outside the cellar is chaos. Even in the perpetual twilight it has become normal. You can see the glow of flames several streets away. People run in all directions, some carrying bundles of possessions, others just fleeing blindly. The air reeks off smoke. What happened? Your father asks, supporting your still weak mother with one arm. Food riot turned ugly. Demetrios explains, keeping his sword ready as he guides your family through the panicked crowd. Someone set fire to an imperial granary when the guards wouldn't open it. Flames are spreading fast. Where Eru going? You ask, struggling to keep up. Harbor, Demetrios says grimly. Ship's area. Best chance now. Ships to where? Your father asks. Anywhere but here. You'll look back at the cellar that's been your home these past weeks. Poor shelter, though it was. The mushrooms that were just beginning to grow. Everything you're leaving behind. But there's no time for sentiment. The fire is spreading, and the narrow streets of the harbor district will channel it right toward you. Agatha joins your group along with several others from the boarding house. Together, you push through the panicked crowds toward the waterfront. The going is slow. Your mother can barely walk, even with your father's help. The streets are jammed, people and abandoned carts. Look out, someone shouts. A building to your right collapses in a shower of sparks and burning timber. The crowd surges away from it, nearly trampling those who fall. Your father scoops you up with his free arm, somehow managing to support both you and your mother, as he forces a path through the mass of bodies. By that time you reach the harbor, you're all coughing from the smoke. The docks are as chaotic as the streets, ships preparing to depart, people fighting to get aboard, sailors beating back thoughts without coins to pay for passage. There, Demetrios points to a medium-sized merchant vessel, where crews are frantically loading crates. That's the Sophia's Fortune. Captain's a friend. Hemite, take us might. Your mother whispers, her face pale with exhaustion. It's our best chance, Demetrius says. Then to your father, stay here with the women and children. I'll speak to the captain. As Demetrios pushes his way towards the ship, you watch the fire consuming the city behind you. Constantinople, the greatest city in Thurald, is burning. The flames seem to consume entire districts in minutes, leaping from building to building. The twilight sky has turned an eerie orange-red. Nearby, a well-dressed man argues with a ship's officer, offering a heavy pouch that must contain gold. Name your price, he's saying. I'll double it. The officer shakes his head. No room, sir. We're at capacity. My children, the man pleads, gesturing to two small girls, clinging to his legs. Take them at least. The scene repeats all along the docks. Desperate people, limited space, impossible choices. Demetrios returns, his expression grim but determined. Captain will take us, but we have towboard now. They're leaving with the tide. All of us. Your father asks, looking at your group, your family. Agatha, and the others from the boarding house. He said his friend. A voice cuts in. It's Sophia, the boarding house owner, a large woman with arms like a blacksmith. That means Demetrios, not the rest of us. Demetrios looks uncomfortable. He has limited space. I told him, you're all with me. But Ewan's payment. Sophia finishes for him. How much? More than any of us have, Demetrios admits. A tense silence falls over your group. Behind you, the roar of fire grows louder. Time is running out. Take the children, your father, says suddenly. That's all I ask, our child and any others here. The adults can find another way. No, your mother protests, clutching you tighter despite her weakness. We stay together, but the idea has caught on. Other parents in your group are nodding, pushing their children forward. Please, your father says to Demetrios, whatever coin we have, whatever valuables, it's all yours if you can get the children on that ship. Demetrios looks torn, glancing from the desperate parents to the waiting ship. Finally, he nods. I'll he says. Gather whatever you can offer quickly. The next few minutes area blur. Parents frantically searching their bundles for anything of value. Children crying, not wanting to be separated. Your own parents arguing in hushed, urgent tones. I won't leave you. You insist when your father kneels before you. Listen to me, he says, gripping your shoulders. The fire is coming. The city may not survive. This ship is your best chance. Then you come too. There's not enough room, not enough money. His voice breaks. Your mother and I will find another way out. Another ship will find you again, I promise. Before you can protest further, Demetrios returns. Captain says he'll take 6 children. No more. We need to decide now. The adults and your group look at each other. A terrible understanding passing between them. There are 12 children among you. How do they choose? The youngest, Agatha says firmly. The smallest ones who have most life ahead of them. No one argues. The calculation is cruel, but necessary. You're not among the 6 youngest. At 10 years old, you're somewhere in the middle. Your parents realize this at the same moment you do. Wait, your father says desperately to Demetrios. What? About you? Are you boarding? I have to, Demetrios says. I paid my passage weeks ago when the ships first started leaving. Take my child in your place, your father pleads. I'll pay whatever I have. Demetrios hesitates, looking from your father's face to yours. Behind you, Thefir has reached the edge of the harbor district. The heat is palpable now, smoke thickening the already dim air. All right, he says finally, but we have to go now. There's no time for proper goodbyes. Your mother pulls you into a fierce hug, whispering that she loves you. Your father presses something into your hand, a small wooden carving of Aubert that he made for you years ago. For luck, he says, remember us. And then you are being hustled toward the ship with the other chosen children. The youngest ones are sobbing. A little boy about 5 keeps trying to run back to his mother, only to be caught and carried forward by Demetrios. You look back once. Your parents stand at the edge of the dock, your mother leaning heavily on your father, both waving behind them. The city burns. It's an image that will stay with you forever. The ship is crowded with people and cargo. You and the other children are led below decks to a small space among crates of what smells like spices. It's dark and cramped, but safer than the burning city you're leaving behind. Stay here, Demetrios tells you. I'll check on you when I can. As he turns Togo, you grab his sleeve. My parents, you say. Will they find another ship? Demetrios's face is unreadable in the dim light. There are other ships, he says carefully. And your parents are resourceful. Try to rest now. You can feel the ship beginning to move, ropes being cast off, oars splashing. Through a small porthole, you catch a last glimpse of Constantinople, a city of shadows and flame, disappearing into the unnatural twilight. The journey is miserable. The ship ice overcrowded, Food and water strictly rationed. Many passengers are sick, from constant rocking, or from drinking seawater in their thirst. The children huddle together for warmth and comfort, sharing stories about the families they left behind, making promises about what they'll do when they're reunited. You don't join in these conversations. Something about Demetrios's when you asked about your parents has planted a seed of doubt in your mind. There are other ships, Hesed. Not they'll find another ship or they'll be fine. Just there are other ships. On the third day at sea. You corner Demetrios when he brings your group's daily ration of water and hard biscuits. Tell me the truth, you demand, about my parents, about the others we left behind. Demetrius sighs, setting down the water jug. What do you want me to say? That they surely found passage on Antithervaso. That they definitely escaped the fire. I don't know these things, but you think they didn't. You press. He looks at you for a long moment, then sits down in a crate across from you. Listen, he says, quietly. The harbor was in chaos. The fire was spreading. Most ships were already full, or leaving in panic. Could your parents have found passage? Yes. Was it likely? No. He runs a hand through his hair. I'm sorry. That's the truth. The words hit you, like your physical blow. You've been holding on to hope, telling yourself that your family would be reunited soon. Now that hope feels foolish. Why did you take me instead of yourself? You ask. Because I saw something in your father's eyes. Demetrios says simply, the same thing I saw in my own father's eyes years ago when he put me on a ship during the Persian Wars. The look of a parent who will do anything to save their child. He pauses. I couldn't refuse that. Irresolent for a long moment, processing this. Where are we going? You finally ask Sicily. Demetrius says, it's part of the empire, but far from Constantinople. The captain has trading contacts there, and they say the darkness isn't as bad in the west. That night, alone in your corner of the hold, you cry silently for your parents, for your village, for everything you've lost to the darkness and chaos. You clutch the wooden bird your father gave you, your last connection to your old life. By the time dawn breaks, though in this strange time-off darkness, dawn is just a subtle lightening of the gloom. You've cried yourself out. Something has changed inside you. The child who left that Byzantine village months ago is gone. In their place is someone harder, someone who understands that survival sometimes means terrible loss. The voyage to Sicily takes nearly 2 weeks. The weather is unpredictable. Storms that seem to come from nowhere, sudden drops in temperature, periods of complete calm. The Osman strain to move the heavily laden ship. Through it all, the sky remains dim. The sun, a pale blue disk, barely visible through the haze. You learn that Sicily is an island, once part of the Western Roman Empire, now reclaimed by Emperor Generals as part of his grand plan to restore Rome's ancient glory. The captain chose it because it's fertile farmland, less dependent on grain imports than Constantinople. If anywhere might have food during this crisis, it's Sicily. When you land a dark smudge on the horizon that gradually resolves into mountain sand coastline, the mood on the ship lifts. People who have barely spoken 4 days suddenly find their voices pointing out landmarks, making plans. We'll dock at Syracuse, Demetrios tells you, and the other children. It's a good-sized city. We can find work there. Shelter. What kind of work can children do? Asks a girl about your age. All kinds. Demetrius says not unkindly. This isn't Constantinople with its strict guilds and regulations. It's a frontier now. Everyone works. The harbor at Syracuse is smaller than Constantinople, but busy nonetheless. Ships crowd the docks, loading and unloading cargo. You notice immediate telephyt. While the sky is still dimmer than normal, the darkness here isn't as oppressive as it was in the east. Thayer feels warmer too. As your ship docks, officials come aboard to inspect cargo and passengers. There's some argument between them and the captain. raised voices gesturing at the crowd. Demetrios looks worried. What's happening? You ask him. They're saying the city is full, he explains. Too many refugees already from the eastern provinces. They don't want to accept more. Fear grips you after everything you've been through. You'll be turned away again. But Demetrios is resourceful. He speaks to the officials, gesturing toward the children. You can't hear what he's saying, but his expression is earnest, persuasive. Finally, one of the officials nods reluctantly. We can stay, Demetrios announces when he returns, but only temporarily. We're expected to find work and move inland within a month. What about the others? Someone asks, nodding toward the adult passengers. Some can stay, some can't. Demetrios's tone makes it clear he doesn't want to break. As you disembark, you see the unfortunate ones, those denied entry, being herded back onto the ship or onto other vessels. Their protests fall on deaf ears. Syracuse, like Constantinople, is overwhelmed with hungry people. The city itself is a curious blend of old and new. Ancient Greek buildings stand alongside newer Roman construction and Byzantine additions. The streets are narrower than Constantinople, winding up hills and down to the harbor in a confusing tangle. People of various backgrounds, mixed together. Greeks, Romans, Jews, Goths, Africans, all subjects of Justinian's reclaimed empire. Demetrius leads your group to a church near the harbor where a hurried-looking priest reluctantly agrees to provide temporary shelter in an outbuilding. It's basic accommodation, just a roof, walls, and floor, but after the ship, it feels luxurious. Rest today, Demetrios tells Silverione. Tomorrow, we start looking for work for permanent places to stay. That evening, as you settle onto your patch of floor in the church outbuilding, a small figure sits down beside you. It's son of the younger children from the ship, a boy about 6 years old named Marcus. Are your parents dead too? He asks bluntly with the directness only children can manage. I don't know, answers honestly. They were in Constantinople when the fire started. Marcus nods solemnly. My mother died last winter. My father put me on Theshop before the fire reached us. He said he'd find another way out. He looks down at his hands. Demetrios says he probably didn't. You don't know what to say. To comfort him, so you simply sit in silence together. Two children, adrift in a world turned upside down by darkness. The next morning, Demetrios divides your group into smaller units for efficiency. You, Marcus, and 2 other children are assigned to stay with Demetrius himself. I have connections here, he explains. A cousin who works in the grain storage. He might be able to help us. The cousin, a bald man named Paus, lives in a small house on the outskirts of Syracuse with his wife and 3 children. When Demetrios shows up with 4 more children in tow, Paus is less than pleased. Have you lost your mind, Hedmans? We can barely feed ourselves. We won't be a burden, Demetrios promise. The older ones can work. I'll find jobs for all of us. Work where? Thessady's flooded with refugees. Every position has 10 people fighting for it. The argument continues inside, while you and the other children wait in the dusty. Finally, Paus's wife intervenes. You can't hear what she says, but whatever it is, it works. Paus emerges from the house, still scowling, but resigned. You can stay in the shed out back, he tells Demetrios. 2 weeks, that's all, and everyone works, even the little ones. True to his word, Paus finds work for all of you. You and the oldest girl, Lucia, are assigned to help at the grain warehouse where Paus works, sweeping floors and running errands. Marcus and the other young boy, Titus, stay with Paus's wife, helping tend the garden and chickens. The work is hard, but it comes with an unexpected benefit. Food, not much, and not good quality, but regular meals of bread, cheese, and sometimes fish or vegetables. After months of near starvation, it feels like a feast. You'll begin to regain some of the weight you lost during the darkness. And there is a pier that wasn't present in Constantinople. Though the sky remains dim, the sun, a pale shadow of its former self. Crops are growing in Sicily, stunted and delayed. Yes, but growing fishing continues. Life adapts. One evening about a week after your arrival, you're sweeping the warehouse floor when you overhear Paulos talking with another worker from Africa. Says it's even better there. Paus is saying almost normal crops, only a little behind. How can that be? The other man asks. The darkness is everywhere. Not equally. Worst in the east and north, better in the south and west. Something to do with wind patterns, they say. You think about this as you work. If the darkness is less severe in Africa, might it be possible that Constantinople will recover too, that your parents, if they survived the fire, might find their way to better conditions that night? You ask Demetrius about it. Is it true the darkness is lifting in some places? Heck, considers the question. Not lifting exactly, more like it was never as bad in some regions. Africa, parts of Hispania, even southern Italy, they've had more light all along. The ash cloud is thicker in the east. So, Constantinople might improve too. Demetrius sighs, maybe eventually. But there's the fire to consider, and the famine that was already underway. He puts a hand on your shoulder. I understand you want to hope. Just be prepared for any outcome. The days settle into a routine. Work, meals, sleep, repeat. The shed behind Paula's house is cramped, but dry. You share it with Demetrios and the other children. All of you sleeping on straw pallets arranged around the small space. It's not comfortable, but it's stable. The first stability you've known since that darkness began. You notice changes in yourself. You're more watchful, more cautious with your food and possessions. You've learned to work quietly to avoid drawing attention. These are survival skills learned through hard experience. 2 weeks pass, then 3. Paulo stops mentioning the deadline for you to leave. Perhaps his wife has convinced him to let you stay. Or perhaps he's realized the extra hands are useful around the warehouse. Whatever the reason, your temporary shelter becomes semi-permanent. Word reaches Syracuse about conditions elsewhere. Constantinople is rebuilding after the fire, but slowly the darkness persists throughout the empire, though with regional variations. Crops continue to struggle in most areas. Famine spreads, and now there are rumors of a new threat. Disease spreading through weakened populations. Plague. You overhear Paus telling Demetrius one evening. Started in Egypt, they say, moving north. People dying by the thousands. Here, Demetrios asks sharply. Not yet, but trade continues. Ships still come from Egypt. It's just a matter of time. That night, you dream of your parents. In the dream, they're standing on the burning dock in Constantinople, waving as your ship pulls away. But as you watch, the flames don't consume them. Instead, they find another vessel. They escape. They're searching for you even now. You wake with tears on your face. The wooden bird clutched tightly in your hand. Weeks turn into months. Summer, such as it is in this darkened world, gives way to autumn. The blue sun remains dim, but there are days when it seems a little brighter, when the haze thins somewhat. On these days, spirits lift throughout Syracuse. People venture outdoors more. Markets bustle. Children play in streets that normally remain quiet. You've grown closer to the other children in your group, especially Marcus. His resilience amazes you. Despite losing his parents and his home, he finds reasons to smile, to laugh, to play like the child he is. You find yourself looking after him, becoming the big sibling he needs. Demetrios notices this. You're good with him, he comments one evening as you help Marcus mend a torn tunic. He needs someone, you say simply. As do you, Demetrios points out. We all do. The conversation turns to the future. Something you've avoided thinking about too much. But with winter approaching, plans must be made. Paulos has been generous. Demetrios says. But this arrangement was never meant to be permanent. The shed will be too cold in winter. Where will we go? You ask, feeling the familiar fear of displacement rising again. I've been talking with some people. There's work in the countryside farms that need hands. They provide housing. It's hard work, but steady. All of us together, Demetrios, possibly not. Different farms need different workers. The younger children might do better in the city with families looking for household help. The thought of separating from Marcus and the others after everything you've been through is painful. You've become a makeshift family, bound by shared trauma and survival. I want to stay with Marcus, you say firmly. Demetrios nods in surprised. I thought you might say that. I'll see what I can arrange. Trueto, his word. Demetrios finds a placement that will accept both you and Marcus. A medium-sized farm about a day's journey inland. The owner, a widow named Helena, needs workers to replace those who fled when the darkness began. She can't pay much, Demetrios explains. But there's housing and food, and she's willing to take both of you. Leaving Syracuse is harder than you expected. Despite being there only a few months, it had become familiar, safe. Lucia and Titus will remain in the city, taken in by families needing household help. Your little group is breaking apart. The morning of departure, you gather your few possessions. Some clothes, provided by Paulos's wife. Your wooden bird, a small knife. Demetrios gave you for protection. Marcus does the same, his bundle even smaller than yours. Demetrius will accompany you to the farm, then return to Syracuse, where he's found regular work at the harbor. He's been a constant presence since Constantinople, a guardian when you had no one else. Saying goodbye to him will be difficult. As you leave Paus's house for the last time, his wife presses a small package into your hands. Bread for the journey, she says, and a little cheese. Take care of yourself and the little one. The road and land is better maintained than you expected. A remnant of Roman engineering, kept up by Justinian's administrators. Other travelers share the path. Merchants with carts, soldiers on patrol, farmers bringing goods to market. Everyone looks thin. Everyone moves with purpose. There's no room for idleness in this dimmed world. As you walk, you notice something you hadn't in the city. The landscape is changing. Trees that should have been full autumn color are just beginning to turn. Crops that should have been harvested months ago are on lino ripening. The darkness has slowed everything, created a perpetual delay in nature's rhythms. Will it ever go back to normal? Marcus asks, noticing something. The old people say it will, Demetrios answers. There have been dark years before, though none this long. The sun always returns, eventually. Bimade, you can see your destination in the distance. A cluster of buildings, nestled in a small valley surrounded by fields. Smoke rises from several chimneys. Even from here, you can see workers in the fields harvesting whatever crops have managed to grow in the dim light. That's Helena's farm, Demetrius confirms. Larger than most in Thesperts, she inherited it from her husband, who got it from his father. Old Roman family that stayed when others fled to Constantinople centuries ago. As you get closer, you can see the farm in more detail. The main house is stone, 2 stories tall. Around it cluster smaller buildings, barns, sheds, quarters for workers. The fields are extensive, growing what looks like wheat, olives, and vegetables. Sheep graze on a hillside. It's a substantial riparian. Helena meets you at the edge of her property. A tall woman with iron-gray hair and sun-weathered skin. Despite the general thinness that marks everyone in these hungry times, she stands straight and strong. These are their children, she asks. Demetrios, looking you and Marcus over with a critical eye. Yes, they're hard workers, both of them. Helena nods, apparently satisfied with what she sees. They'll need to be. There's no place for idleness here. Her tone is firm, but not unkind. Come, I'll show you where you'll stay. The worker housing is basic, but solid. A long building divided into small rooms, each with a straw mattress, a shelf for possessions, a small fireplace for cooking and heat. You and Marcus will share one of these rooms. Meals are communal, Helena explains, leading you through the farm. Everyone works, everyone eats. Work begins at first light, ends at dusk. Rest days a reverie, seventh day, unless there's urgent harvest work. It's a strict regime but fair, and after months of uncertainty, the clarity of expectations is almost a relief. That evening, as you and Marcus settle into your new quarters, Demetrios prepares to leave. He'll stay the night at the farm, then head back to Syracuse in the morning. You'll be all right here, he tells you, helping start a small fire in your fireplace. Helena runs a tight operation, but she's known to be fair. The work is hard, but honest. Thank you, you say, suddenly awkward, for everything, for taking me, instead of yourself, on the ship. For keeping us safe. Demetrios looks embarrassed. I did what anyone would do. But you both know that's not true. In a world turned dark and desperate, many people think only of themselves. Demetrius chose differently. If you hesitate, then push on. If you ever hear anything about Constantinople, about survivors from the fire, my parents, I'll send word immediately, he promises. Ships still come from the east. News travels even in these times. In the morning, you watch from the edge of the fields as Demetrius disappears down the road toward Syracuse. Your last connection to your old life, to Constantinople, to the parents you lost. Now it's just you and Marcus, starting yet another new chapter in this darkened world. As you turn back toward the farm, toward the work waiting for you, you feel through it, of the wooden bird in your pocket. You touch it briefly, a talisman of hope and memory. Then square your shoulders and move forward. The darkness may continue, but so do you. While you adjust to farm life in Sicily, far across the sea, in Constantinople, Emperor Justinian possessed the marble floors of his palace. Oil lamps burn day and night. Their golden light, a poor substitute for the sun that's been hidden for months now. The emperor's purple robes, woven with gold thread, seem dull in the artificial light. More reports of famine, Your Majesty, says a court official, bowing low. Thrace, Macedonia, northern Anatolia, all requesting grain shipments. Justinian stops his pacing, a tall imposing figure despite the strain evident on his face. The problems of empire weigh heavily on him. The reconquest of the western territories, the ongoing Persian threat, the religious disputes within Christianity, and now this darkness, this endless winter. What do our Egyptian provinces report? He asks. Better conditions, Your Majesty. The darkness is less there. Crops reduced, but not felled in early, and the grain shipments. The official hesitates. Pirates, Your Majesty. Taking advantage of the chaos. 3 ships lost last week alone. Justinian closes his eyes briefly, mastering his frustration. Double the naval patrols. I want those shipments protected at all costs. Yes, Your Majesty, but the cost will be paid. Justinian interrupts firmly. My people will not starve while I sit in a palace. See to it. As the official bows and backs away, Justinian turns to the window. Outside, what should be a bright spring morning, in Constantinople is instead a murky twilight. The great city is still recovering from the fire that swept through it months ago. Rebuilding happens slowly in this dimmed world, with materials scarce and workers weakened. Hunger, his wife, the Empress Theodora, joins him at the window. Once an actress and courtesan, now she's his most trusted advisor, known for her intelligence and determination. More bad news? She asks, though she already knows the answer. Always. Justinian sigh. The darkness persists. The people suffer, and our enemies circle, waiting for weakness. Theodora takes his hand, a rare gesture of affection, rarely witnessed by others. The empire has survived worse. We will endure, will we? For a moment, The emperor's doubt shows through his usual confidentificate. My generals write from Italy that the Goths are regrouping, taking advantage of our distraction. The Slavs push at our northern borders. The Persians watch our eastern provinces with hungry eyes. All the more reason to show strength, Theodora says. Firmly, continue their conquest, secure our borders, show the world that not even this darkness can stop Byzantium. Justinian nods slowly. You're right. Of course, as always. He straightens. Imperial resolve returning. Double the Italian expedition. Supplies. Send word to Belisarius that he's to press forward with the campaign against the Goths. As Theodora leaves to convey these orders, Justinian returns to the window, gazing out at his darkened capital. Let their blight, he murmurs, an emperor's. Prayer to a silent heaven. Back in Sicily, your days take on a steady rhythm. Up before the dim dawn, working in Helena's fields until dusk, then a simple meal before collapsing into exhausted sleep. It's hard work, but there's a certain comfort in the routine, knowing exactly what each day will bring. The farm proves to be a good placement. Helena is strict but fair. Food is distributed equally among all workers. Simple, fair, but enough to keep you strong. Your room shared with Marcus becomes a small haven. You've hung herbs to dry from the ceiling beams. Collected colorful stones, from fields to decorate the shelf. Made it as much of a home as possible. Marquesha's adapted well to. At 6, he's too young for the heaviest field work. Buth helps with the animals, feeding chickens, collecting eggs, watching the sheep. He has a way with creatures, a gentle touch that makes even the most skittish animals trust him. This sheep, sick, he tells you one evening, as you both sit by your small fire. I can tell by how she breathes. Helena doesn't know yet. How can you tell, you ask?